All right, it's pretty late here. I had a long day at work. Comic-Con's upon us, but I Radiant Black 25 dropped. Now, because I was at work and I was busy, I didn't get to go to my local comic book shop to pick it up. Either cover, which, very upsetting. So I had to, because I couldn't wait and I'm very impatient, I went on the Amazon on the Kindle shop and I had to pick up a digital copy of cover A because there are two covers, A and B. There's spoiler differences between them. I'll get into that. By the way, I'm going to be spoiling major stuff later on in this video. I'm not going to be doing a play by play of everything that happened in this issue. I want everyone to still go out to your local comic book shop, buy both covers, honestly, and read it for yourselves because I usually don't review every issue of Rated Black. On my podcast, I've been covering the volumes of all the trades for everything in the Massiverse just because it's easier that way from a time standpoint. But for the Catalyst War, I am reviewing every freaking issue. that is happening. Um so dude, this issue, like, so we had kind of like a month break, and man, like it's just great that volume 4 dropped the same day, which I believe volume 4 is up until um issue 24. So I thought that was a great thing, easy for everyone to catch up on. Um this is going to be a big event, the Catalyst War. Now, this is Catalyst War Part 1, but this is kind of like the prelude to the war because we still have a major decision that had to be made in the book, but also in real life because we got to vote who was going to be Radiant Black. Was it going to be Marshall or Nathan? I did my video. We all know I was Team Marshall. I will get into who won the fan vote later on because I want to just talk about some other stuff first. Uh, so this comic book was this is probably one of the best from a story standpoint, easily the top 5 best issues. I say that because we got some backstory, more of Nathan Marshall's friendship, and you can kind of tell through these backstories that, like, they, from the Marshall side of things, we got to see more of how he was always this impulsive person, but you got like Nathan's, almost like how his opinion is of Marshall and if it's really changed, because the theme of this whole entire Nathan side of things is, he's a firm believer people don't change, like, and it starts off, Nathan's in school, handed in a paper, he's got his teacher lecturing him on the fact that, he kind of, instead of writing like poems and this that, he wrote like a full-fledged like short story. And we see Marshall getting in a fight in the hallway, and then he literally hits a dude over the head with a glass bottle. It obviously gets in trouble and goes to juvie. And it kind of goes into this whole, throughout the comic, whenever there were flashbacks, you know, Nathan hadn't talked to Marshall in like 2 years, and it's nice to see the interaction with a younger Nathan and his dad, because even his dad is like, people can change. This is your friend. You've known each other since fifth grade. You kind of get this animosity that Nathan has towards Marshall because, let's face it, Marshall, he's just going through the motions of life. Nathan is very goal orientated. He has these things he wants to accomplish. And, like I said, he has goals, he has aspirations. And you kind of get this thing throughout this whole thing. He thinks Marshall just kind of wants to coast through life. And I'm like, okay. Um, there's even a big scene when, Marshall confronts Nathan. He's like, "What do you think? I haven't changed?" He's like, "Do you think so low of me?" type of deal. And I'm like, wow. I was like, their friendship was kind of almost always strained. It wasn't just, post, Nathan waking up from his coma and, him seeing how Marshall is acting as Radiant Black and everything else. Like, their friendship hasn't always been perfect. And I was like, okay, I like that. That was something that really was appealing to me because I think, this was, I I like the characters so much in the Massiverse, especially Radiant Black. I like Nathan. I like Marshall. Yes, I like Marshall more. It's a more relatable character, and Nathan too. But like from like an aspiration, like I like writing this and that. I didn't want to be a writer, so there's that elements of why I like Nathan. But Marshall, I'm a very impulsive person. I'm quick to action, stuff like that. You know, I'm kind of a hothead. Like, you know, I do have my anger moments. So it's like you know, both have those elements of their personalities that appeal to me that I can see myself in. And that I don't always need that either in comic book characters. You know, there's tons of comic characters that I like that I have no real parallels personality wise to. Uh, so this issue gives us more backstory of the Radiants. The Colossals appear, by the way, spoilers, and we learned that there's something called, oh, what was it called? It was called the Catalyst Empire. Now, this basically was the four Colossals. They had a physical form. They had their own Radiants that were like their messengers, and they were kind of a group, like, they were going to planet, kind of conquering them, so to speak, gaining more power. And the four Colossals started something called the New Way, which they kind of left that and started their own thing. But in order of them leaving, they lost their ability to have a physical form. That's why you only see them when you go into existence and stuff like that. And, the four Radiants as their messengers, they now have more free will, because back then, when they were part of the empire, the Catalyst Empire, those messengers didn't really have any free will. They were under their control. So now, fast forward, the leader of the Catalyst Empire, named the Premier, is on his way basically to Earth. And the Premier's right hand person was basically Radiant Black. So even though this is the Catalyst War and all the Radiants are going to be involved, it's really up to Nathan or Marshall, Radiant Black, to be the one to face off against the Premier. And I like that. And let me just say about the artwork, the coloring, everything is so good in this issue. And I just realized my screen is reflecting in my glasses, so I'm gonna minimize my webcam mirror screen. So we had once again Marcelo Costa on the freaking artwork, as well as Eduardo Ferragamo. From a color standpoint, we had Rod Fernandez and Raul Angulo. Sorry, I'm bad with names. And the coloring, the artwork, everything about this is so damn good. And yes, I did say Kyle Higgins was writing it. He had Joe Clark also helping him, and I believe that was some of the flashback scenes. But just a sidebar, because I got to give credit where credit is due. Wendell is another character that, like, I've always been intrigued by. I enjoy Wendell. Was it issue 18 was, which was basically the Wendell issue, was great. I have the infinite version where all like folds out, and such a great issue. So we had some scene, he was in this primarily as well. There was a cool scene where he was like, basically he's working with the government and basically being like an insider, so how they can, handle the situation. And he even brought up, like, well, bad idea is strapping a nuke to a spaceship. But we find out it's one of his playing out his scenarios in his head of, because he could kind of have clairvoyancy. And I like that he was kind of in a room with all these threads, connecting photos, trying to figure out, like, okay, is everything dooming, like, gloom with this whole war that's approaching? But the main, because I say this is like the prelude, like leading to the Catalyst War, because the war hasn't started yet. The whole idea of this issue is still the dynamic and the conflict between Nathan and Marshall deciding who's going to be Radiant Black, because no one can pick for them. They have to come to a decision, because until then, they're glitching out. They have no real control or stability in the powers. And Marshall is so, like, it's kind of weird when he's the one who's making all these valid points, even though, he's very emotional in this, like, in this situation between the mother sitting down by the fire deciding what's going to happen. And Nathan does it, you know, it's weird to see Nathan not be like the rational one who's like basically level headed. Like, because Marshall is making all these good points. You know, he's saying he's stronger than him. You know, he says, you know, if you think he doesn't have goals, he's saying like, you know, Nathan has these things to fall back on, which I brought up in my video. You know, he could still go to LA, be a writer, all sorts of stuff. Marshall feels this is what he's meant to do. This is his calling. You know, and he does say he's stronger and everything else. And like, let's face it, Marshall was more aggressive and wasn't so trapped in his head with that, like, what should I do? Is this the right thing? Whereas that's how Nathan always was. Whereas Marshall's just like, Radiant Black, let me go fight. And if this is gonna be a war and this and that, like he's, you know, the smart choice. And there is a point, and you know, like I said, there's a whole scene where Marshall literally is like, "You really don't think I've changed?" And he even points out this isn't your story anymore because he brings up the fact that, you know, when Nate that building fell on Nathan, Marshall jumped right in, took the Radiant, saved his life, was fighting all this other stuff. So it's like, yeah, this is, you know, this is his you know, it's not just about Nathan, it's about both of them. And now into the spoilers because it's a long video. Marshall is our Radiant Black. Team Marshall, that's right, we got it. Now, uh and you know, once right when he gets it, the last page is the war is here. And we see 001 with them because he was there throughout the whole entire issue. He was kind of like constantly be like, all right, guys, we don't have time. Can you make a decision? Like he was kind of just like pushing them into making that decision because, you know, they're wasting time. Time is of the essence. And even he, you know, they asked him, who would you pick? And he said, neither of you, honestly. Like, and I was like, well, that's very on brand for 001. But I will say, I read cover A. Now, cover B had a, there's a spoiler, cover B had a different ending. And I did not get to go to the comic book shop. I'm going tomorrow because it's late. That's why my lighting looks weird. Because it's dark and I don't want to put all my panel lights on. So I had to, you know, I hit up my friend who was on Discord and I was like, oh, you're up late. He's like, yeah, we're like, hey, you got both covers. You went to the comic book shop. He's like, yeah. I'm like, jump on cam, show me some stuff. So cover B shows what would happen if Nathan was the one decided. And I was like, that was, to me, that was really cool. I thought that was a nice touch. I do believe cover A is like canon to what's going on. Now, I haven't fully dove into it because I got been at work and everything else. And so I saw in some Discords and on some other posts, people were saying that going forward, cover A for the Catalyst War for the next, I don't know how many issues, will be following the story of Marshall as Radiant Black. And cover B is supposed to be Nathan as Radiant Black, so it's kind of like cover A being like, this is whatever voted, this is what's going on, and cover B is like, here's an alternate timeline. And I think that's really cool, something that hasn't really been done before, because it's not like a choose your own adventure type thing. It's more of, okay, here's that what if timeline. And I don't know how drastically different it's going to be. I honestly don't know. I'm going to look into it more when I get a chance. And it's not, you know, late at night. I'll probably look into it more post Comic-Con, or they may even talk about it at the Massiverse panel. I don't know. I'm actually going to be missing the Massiverse panel because I have some things to do and I have to go to the doctor's for a follow-up. So I'm going to miss the Massiverse panel, sadly. But yeah, issue 25 of Radiant Black did not disappoint. Like I said, one of my favorite issues, easily my top issues of the whole entire run. I think this is leading up to the like what's going to be a insane event. I always try not to get too hyped on comic book events, but I think the hype is justified. I think it's going to live up to it because I haven't been disappointed yet, and we're 25 issues. We're over 2 years into the run, and I have not been disappointed. So I'm really looking forward to it. If you picked up issue 25 of Radiant Black, let me know in the comments below. Are you happy with the decision that was made? Try not to leave too much spoilers in the comments, please. Like, you could just say, oh, I didn't like that decision, or oh, that was a great decision. try not to, just in case anyone's, watching it or shows up on someone's feed and they see a spoiler before they can stop the video where there is a spoiler. But that's it. I got some other comic book stuff I'm working on, some more Massiverse content. So I will see you guys in the next video. And don't forget the subscribe button. You know, the little button at the thing? Yeah, hit that. And I will see you guys in the next video.